everybody. Welcome along to the latest episode of Everywhere We Go, Kiddy and Massive, a Kidderminster Harriers fans podcast with me, Nick Hatton. We've been away for a little while, but we're back and delighted to say that we have got the two men in charge of Harriers promotion last season back in the National League this campaign. And all Harriers fans are excited for what is to come over the next 6 or 7 months or so. So, Russ Penn, Jimmy O'Connor, many thanks for joining us on the podcast. How are you both?
Very good, thank you.
Not too bad.
Very good.
Yeah, all good. All good, thank you.
Jimmy, Russ, feel free to just dive in. Don't wait for me to ask you a question each or anything like that. If you disagree with each other, then butt in. It's all good. This is the kind of thing that we'd like to see and get sort of behind.
We do that every day, mate. We're not disagreeing on a night as well. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, all right. Jimmy, I'm going to start with you because the first question on this podcast, which I asked Russ many months ago, is what does Kidderminster Harriers mean to you? So I've not had the opportunity to ask you first, so far away.
Yeah, look, I've been at the club myself now for, I believe it's 5 years, coming up to 5 years, which is mind-blowing really to think. Obviously, dropped down to the level, not knowing a lot. I had every intention as a player of achieving the dream, getting back to the league, couple of promotions. My God, learned a hell of a lot in that time. It didn't quite work out that way, or not yet, especially as a player. Been through some tough times, like a lot of people who have been here during that time. A lot of real low points. But when you come through that sort of thing at a club, you learn a lot, and it becomes part of you. So, look, I'm very fortunate as a player to have a couple of clubs who are really class as home in Doncaster and Walsall. But yeah, Kidderminster also means a lot to me now in a different sort of way. But yeah, really proud of what we've achieved in that time. But I feel there's more to come as well.
Were you aware of us as a club, or how aware of us were you as a club? Obviously, spending time at Walsall, we're just down the road, but did you know kind of what we were about at the time?
Yeah, obviously, a great tradition. The cups and things spring to mind. Me and Russ were actually talking about it earlier, actually, like the Birmingham City game. It's anybody who lives in the Midlands, they know about it. It's one of them, a traditional non-league club with a spell in the league as well. Good following. Obviously, at the time, I knew John Eustace from my time at Derby, so I'd actually spoke to him a few times, and I think we played a couple of friendlies when I was at Walsall against Kidderminster behind closed doors. So look, obviously a huge club in the area. You know about all your local teams. Did I think I'd end up coming here at that point? Probably not. But when it came available, I'd been training here for a couple of weeks as a player, trying to keep my fitness up, and the way they were doing things on the pitch was different class under Eustace and Matt Gardner. So yeah, that's how it came about really.
So player to being part of the academy, and then obviously joining up with Russ as well. Congratulations to both of you on the promotion. This is the first time publicly I've had a chance to speak to you since last season. We'll look at that more in depth a little bit later on. But here we are, 8 games in to the new National League campaign. Russ, how would you assess the start so far?
From us personally, or as the league?
You personally.
Personally, I think. Listen, I think we've seen a bit of everything in the first 8 games. It's everything we expected. Proper step up, to say the least. We're going up against teams now who are all on par with us and more. But yeah, it's got to be a major challenge for us this year. Something we're really excited about. I think every game we go into now, we've got that thrill. I think it reached that point in the National North where we kind of had to go up last year, really, for me and Jim and for the club, because I think we had 3 really good years of building it up, getting to where we wanted to be, and got the promoted that I thoroughly believe we deserved over the 3 years, never mind the last 9 games and all that bull. But now we're here where we want to be. We've got to dive in head first, and I think we'll definitely do that. I've seen some really positive signs, and I've seen some things that you can't take your eyes off the ball, really. So, like I said, it's got to be a challenge, and in a really tough league, but something that we're really excited about.
Jimmy, what are we doing well at the moment, and what needs a bit of work, do you think?
I think the performance levels is vital. I think after 8 games, if we were to come into the division and we were getting outclassed week by week, I think there'd be huge issues that we'd have to deal with. I think we're close. I think we performed well in all the games. I think we should have taken points from all the games we've played in so far. That doesn't mean we're taking it easy by any means, but we know what we do well. I think we've been organised and disciplined in all the games. I think we've created problems still for the opposition. We've limited the opposition as well. But we've built our success in the last 3 years on those things first and foremost. You can't lose them things. It's very obvious that we need to score more goals as a team. It's been a problem really over the last 2 years, and we continue to try and address it. It's not all about personnel. Lots of things come into it, and we work on it day by day. The first thing I'd say, I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged. Don't get me wrong. There's a big jump in class of all the sides. One thing we always do, me and Russ and the staff, we're massive. We do our homework. We know the opposition inside out every week, whatever level we play at. Every team has got huge threats at this level in particular. They did last year, but it's a big step up. And we'd be very naive to look away from that and go away from what's given us success. We know we've still got to develop as a team, as me and Russ as well. And like every year we've done so far, we continue to try and get better and better.
And Russ, the goal scoring side of things, I know you've been asked this pretty much after every single match this season. I think on Saturday against Rochdale, obviously Joe Leasley, great goal from him. If Amari Morgan-Smith had buried that chance just a couple of minutes later, I don't think we'd be having this conversation, would we?
No, but we still haven't scored enough. 4 goals in 8 games isn't going to get you very far. We know that. But it's not as if we haven't deserved more goals. We created serious amount of chances, and we're kicking ourselves after every game, really. But listen, this is why the strikers, the top strikers, get paid what they get paid, and they get their names all over the papers. And I want one of our strikers to put the names on the back of the pages, because that's what they're all paid to do. Saying that, I don't think we've been ruthless enough in set pieces and other parts of the units, but. We're encouraged. We've had 4 draws at home, and we could have easily won all those 4 games. Now, we're not going to go away and say, oh, we've cracked it now, and it will come, because it just doesn't come. We have to keep working hard, and we have to keep being stubborn, and one day we'll score 3 or 4, and then it doesn't get talked about. But at the moment, yeah, it's slow, and it's frustrating more than anything. It's just frustrating, and none more so to the players. The players can feel it, and they've got that edge about them at the moment, and they want to prove people wrong. So that's all we can do at the moment: work hard and prove people wrong. Yeah,
I was going to ask about the players. How is the mood in the camp? Is it one of frustration? How would you describe it?
Yeah, buoyant. It's good. It's a good place. A good place to work. We thrive ourselves on that, being around a good work ethic. But frustrated. We know we should be on more points, but we're not. And you can't keep saying it will come, and we're being frustrated. You've got to go again, and we really have to. Like, Rochdale was probably the best, the most obvious game for us. We were 1-0, had the full ascendancy, and we just had to finish them off. And it ended up becoming an even game, and a 1-1 probably was deserved, but we really had them on the ropes for 60 minutes, and we've got to bury these teams because they're too good to not lie down.
And Jimmy, you and Russ have got a system, obviously. When it perhaps isn't happening in front of goal, how much do you have to stick to your guns and stick to your principles and not be perhaps swayed by other noise that maybe outside of the club who've got their own ideas and whatnot? You've got to stick with your own principles, haven't you?
Yeah, well, look, you don't close your ears to the noise to be stubborn. That'd be very, very naive and stupid as well. Of course, you hear outside opinions and you listen to them and you take it on board. It doesn't mean you follow all them opinions and all that advice. Of course, you don't. One thing we have been during the 3 years, and we always say you have to be adaptable, and that doesn't mean you tinker with everything and you chuck the baby out with the bathwater by any means. We're well aware that if you go away from all the things I said earlier, being organised and doing things, the dirty stuff well, you get your backside handed to you. You know what I mean? It doesn't work. We can't do that as well. But at the same time, yeah, of course you listen to outside noise and you try and be better and find ways to get messages across to the players, and you try things in training, and you have video analysis, and you have little pep talks, and you look at recruitment. The whole thing comes into it. It's not just one thing.
And we're in this division, of course, because of the ridiculous end to last campaign. We'll go over sort of the final few months of last season a little bit later on. But the summer, obviously, when you knew you were up, you had your time to enjoy it. But then the hard work obviously started a couple of weeks later. What was your sort of mindset? What were your objectives, Russ? Did you have sort of a checklist of a National League North side and a National League side, depending on how the season finished?
Oh God, yeah, very. very you know what? We never thought about National League at all until we got there. I remember in the week leading up to Farsley, we had a board meeting, which was a really good, productive meeting, to be honest. We were in no man's land at the time. We were languishing around 15th place, and we were planning for National North next year and a few cuts here and there and what we're going to do and how we're going to be better. And it was really good and refreshing from the chairman. He backed us, and that was great. And then we went on this amazing run, and we never talked about the National League until the night of Brackley, really, where we just said, look, let's enjoy the week, and then we'll get our heads down. So yeah, kind of behind in that aspect, because realistically we were always going to be in National North, but somewhat miraculously we got into the National League. So probably about a month behind, Nick, if I'm going to be honest, mate. But I wouldn't have done it any differently.
And Jimmy, how would you sum up the team that you would want to put together over that summer?
Over the summer, well, we're coming off the back of 9 wins. Obviously, we've probably seen a group of players who have performed at close to their peak, if not their peak. I think at that point, anybody in the league below, in the National North, and then a huge number of the clubs in the National League as well would have been having a look at our players, because we finished so strongly. That word momentum comes up. You want to keep momentum. You work so hard. You try so hard to create it and get hold of it in a side. And that's probably the most momentum we've had over the 3 years. I think it'd be very silly to just tear that up. And obviously, at the same time as well, contracts dictate as well in some circumstances. But we had a group of players who were performing really high, had the right mindset, and I believe are desperate to prove themselves now in the league above as well. Obviously, you need to add to that, and I think that showed by what we've tried to do in a small amount of time after. But when you look at the other squads in the division as well, you see teams when they've had a good season last year, whether they've been in the playoffs or performed above where they should be, they've all added, and that's key as well. I don't think we believe in a stabilisation or anything, or a certain position we've got to hit. I think you come in and try and do as well as you can and give yourself a chance to win every single game, and that's what we've done so far, and that's what we'll continue to do. Now, look, 12 months down the line or 10 months down the line at the end of the season, I'm sure there'll be a big review where we look at where we are, what we've done well, what we can do better, and where we can strengthen. And
a promotion, Russ, how much easier does that make selling the club to new signings?
Not so much, Nick, to be honest, because we're signing National League players now, and they don't care about winning National North promotions. It means a lot to us and the club, because I think the journey we've been on has been fantastic, and we want to keep going on this journey. But yeah, we're talking an absolute different kettle of fish now in this league for me, and that's probably been the biggest step up in terms of budgets, recruitment, players. You know, we were always the standout in the National North, Nick, to be honest. We were one of probably 3 teams that we always had a target, and we could probably get 90% of the time we got what we wanted. At this level, or you're probably looking at your 12th or 15th in line. Do you know what I mean? If you're not careful. And you've even got teams in the league below now who are paying stupid money, your Scunthorpes and I'm not going to mention other names, but you know, it's tough out there, mate. But you know, we've got to be competitive. But that's the biggest step up for me. Recruitment's become a lot harder, and we have to sell our club more than anything. So our surroundings, our fan base, our pitch, and we sell ourselves. You know what I mean? Because I like to think, you know, we're still a good catch in terms of players who want to play for us.
Yeah. What is the pitch then? What's the sell to the players?
I think, well, listen, we're going national now, so we don't just sign Midland-based players. Because we've got accommodation at the house, at the club, which is a great plus for us. We bring them to the ground, we show them round. But a lot of players, we ask them to do the due diligence on us, you know, whether they know players, whether they know us. We sell the training ground, which is fantastic for the level. And that's probably our biggest plus, really. The day-to-day, how we work and the facilities we've got.
How does it work then between you two over the summer? You'll Jimmy, you'll have your eye on players. Russ, obviously, you'll have your eye on players as well. Is it a meeting and you put some forward, Jimmy, you put some forward, Russ, and you discuss who you're going to have, and some get eliminated, some get brought in? How does it work between the pair of you?
It doesn't stop, to be honest, Nick. It doesn't stop. I think when you said about enjoying the promotion, I'm probably say about one day really, a bit of a hangover, and then straight away after it's phone calls constantly. It's every day is an update. Look, we have our ways of our own spreadsheets and databases and so forth, but the majority it's a constant thing. Players are always becoming available. Things are always happening in this world, in the football world. Even today, it happens constantly, and you think you finished for the day, and you leave the office, and you're on the phone within 15 minutes on the car on the way home. Our missuses go absolutely mad, I'm sure. Sick of each other, but look, it doesn't stop. What I will say is we say to representatives of players and everyone really, look, we're always on the lookout for good players. What are you looking for? What positions? Good players. We believe anyone who can improve us and is realistic as well, we should be looking at them. And I think that's the way you've got to be as well. I think having this perfect plan and having it mapped out how you want your team to look with this player in that position, it doesn't work like that in football. It changes so quickly, and that word adaptability comes in again. You've got to be adaptable, and you've got to be ready to make quick decisions, which means you've got to have a good understanding of players across the level above, the level below.
And how difficult or how challenging has that been for you, Jimmy? Because you said when you arrived, firstly as a player, it wasn't a level that you had been familiar with. So once you hung up your boots, how much of a challenge was it to get your teeth around what was around at that level?
The biggest challenge, by far for me, the biggest challenge. It was obviously Russ come to the club. We had about a month or two playing as teammates, and straight away the difference. Obviously, Russ knows everybody, everybody's family, everybody's friends. It's some knowledge of the level, and look, you can't just rely on that. I had to learn, and I've had to learn again now this season as well, going up a level. But that's the football world. That's coaching. That's management. You learn off people like Russ. You seek advice from other people as well outside of the club. We've got some really good contacts. And you have to put the groundwork in. You have to watch games. You have to get out there. You have to read the papers. You have to read everything. You have to build up your own knowledge of these players. And then, like you say, it's a constant until you leave the game. But it was difficult, very difficult at the start. I will be honest. Actually, really surprised me by the amount of talent at the level, even the level below. It was really surprised me.
And how close
we've got a good team. We've got a good team as well. We've got a good staff team. Behind the scenes, we've got a fantastic chief scout, which probably no one has ever seen, because he works in the background and he works full time for the football club. He's absolutely fantastic, and he's been a massive part of what we've done. Then you've got all our staff: Lee Evans, Dan Ludlow, Charlie Thompson. They're all fully on board of what we're doing. Me and Jim couldn't just do this and recruit. It would just be too hard. So we've been backed up in those places. The software we've now got with stats and everything that we've built up over the last 3 years. So yeah, it comes together, and we just work like any other football club really, but behind the scenes it all takes place.
Yeah. And how tight are you as a group? You wouldn't have had the success that you've had without being as tight as you are. You're obviously good mates, but you've got to have that professional line as well, haven't you?
Definitely. Yeah. It's like your second dressing room, isn't it? I suppose. We have that mentality amongst us. It's fiery. It's honest. Everybody works hard. That's the most important thing. But there's a respect there. Look, we don't always agree. Far from it. And we believe that's healthy as well. We encourage all the staff to have their own opinions. They have to bring something to the table. They have to, because we have to be constantly on it, because we can't settle for anything less really. Especially now, we keep saying it, going up a level. Everybody's that little bit better. It's not just about the players, it's about us on the side as well, and all the work that goes in from Monday until the Saturday, and then it starts all over again. And you've all got to have the same mindset. You've got to want to do it, and you've got to want to be better. And we're very lucky that we've got a good group with us.
Let's talk about last season then. Russ, so I was, before setting this up, I'd gone through a few of last season's sort of post-match interviews, and the one that stood out for me was after Chester away, when it was probably as low as it got last season. As a management duo, tell me how low it got. Were you? I hesitate to use the phrase "tearing your hair out," but were you?
Oi, don't be cheeky. I've got more hair than Jim.
Okay. Well, you tell
it
your
was
hair out
definitely. Do you know what, mate? There was a couple of low points last year. Chester away, not so much as Chester at home. That was a bad night for us on TV. That was a low point. Banbury at home. Listen, it's very frustrating being on the sidelines, with especially me and Jim coming out of the game. You want to be out there sometimes and get it going a bit. You know, we're both captains, and sometimes you feel so frustrated and let down. But then the pluses and the positives that it brings you, the joy seeing your team do well, like we did the last 2 months in the season before, it makes you proud. So listen, I think it makes you stronger. We had a fantastic chairman who was really supportive last year, really supportive when we probably needed it the most. Never close to getting the sack or anything like that. Never even talked about it, which I just think speaks volumes, really. He runs the club like he runs his business, very successful, does it very well. He's very professional, always wants to be better, challenges me and Jim to be better every week. Because if we're not, he asks questions, and they're honest questions, and we don't ever want to be put on that spot. We don't ever want to be embarrassed, and I think that's what drives us to be better all the time. But going back to your question, Nick, yeah, we did have some low days, mate, and Chester home and away was one of those, yeah.
Not close to the sack then, but how horrible was it, Jimmy? Because I'm up in Yorkshire for a lot of it, and I follow as what I can sort of on social media and various bits and bobs. And social media after that run was pretty horrific, really. I mean, as a management duo, how did you sort of get through that? Do you shut yourself away from it? I know you said earlier about, yes, you hear the noise, but you ignore it to a degree. But how difficult was that? I mean, abuse at times, I suppose.
Yeah, I think the social media side. Look, I learned as a player. Probably midway through my career, I kind of come off the majority of it, because you could have 100 positive comments when you play well, and there's always one negative, and believe you me, that's the one that every player always finds somehow. So look, that's a separate thing. How low did it get, and how do you come through it? I think what helps is being good people in the first place. I do believe that, all right, because then I think the good people stick with you. You seek advice. From good people who might have been through it. I think that's very important. I think you'd be very naive to just kind of think you know best all the time. It's all right to feel a little bit vulnerable and down sometimes. Not a problem with that one bit. But yeah, also as well, you can't bury your head in the sand, and you have to realise where it's going wrong or where it's not quite happening. Good bit of advice we got from the owner in that spell was, I need to see that you're always learning, and I just thought that is spot on, and that's something that you've got to be doing every day, whether it's going well, whether it's going bad, whether it's a little bit of a lull. You have to be learning all the time about what's happening, and I think that's something that it's something that we're really good at. I think it's become one of our strengths, and it's something that I hope to keep with us for the rest of our futures, really.
And Russ, what was behind that poor first half, plus more maybe of the season in the end? I know sort of bad eggs, I think, was mentioned to a degree. We saw a couple of players leave as well. Was that sort of a main factor in it, or were there other issues potentially? What was behind that sort of disappointing results that we were having?
That was minor, to be honest, Nick. What you've just mentioned, I think that was a part for 2 weeks. I nipped that in the bud straight away. Confidence, biggest thing in football, and I think we hit rock bottom, to be honest. Along with the injuries we've had, listen, I can say it now. We got promoted. We had some bad luck. Big players at important times missing, and you need those big players for the big games. Your Shane Burns, your Tom Owen Evans, which didn't really work out for us. Nat Knight Percival missing a good chunk of the season, and then coincided with that, we had some big players out of form, and you're constantly chasing. And we couldn't get a settled side, and yeah, we had to go back to basics after Chester. We had the game after Chester. It was against Blythe on the Saturday, and he got called off because of snow or frosty pitch. Probably the best thing that could have happened to us. We had a real heart-to-heart with the players. We went back to basics, and then we had a couple of derby games with Hereford, and won one, drew one. got everyone going a little bit, and then we brought the chairman back to us in bringing some decent signings in, your Carl Morrisons, your Christian Dibbles. Give me some more, Jim. I think we bought 3 or 4 in. And then we're picking up points then.
I think that, as well as a couple of players stepping up as well. I don't think it could be underestimated. You've got a couple of young lads coming to the team at the right time, and that's probably the flip side where, rather than by design, although they were doing the right things in training, I use Kai as a great example. He could become a beacon then for younger players. How you do it, you train right, you do everything right, and eventually when you do get your chance, which come with a bit of luck, let's be fair, at Hereford, you come in there and take that chance. And I think we started to see across the squad what was really important and what was us. Good characters, good people, not necessarily out of this world players technically or ability-wise at the time, but this is what we are, and this is our bare minimum. This is what we hang our hat on as a club. I thought it was key, and look, it didn't just click straight away. By the way, we said it all along to the players. We were doing the right things, and you don't always get your reward straight away. Now, I believe that we were the best side in the league for probably the last 4 months, not just the last 9 games where we won 9 on the trot. Before that, the blocks were being put in place where we were going away from home and we were getting a couple of draws. We beat Spennymoor away from home before that, and we were getting better. We weren't the finished article by any means, but we were getting better, and it was starting to build slowly. But before that, like I say, we reached a point where I think we had to reevaluate ourselves and what we wanted as well, really. And that's what happens sometimes when you're at rock bottom. You have to take a long, hard look at yourself, and unfortunately, we did it. And I'm sure we'll get their moments again. Look, in the next 10, 15 years, hopefully, if we're in the game, it's not going to be the last time they hit a dark place. And then we're going to have to look back and learn from that again.
The fortunate side to what happened is that we got to learn from it and got to kind of prove to chairmen and managers around the country that this is what can happen. It doesn't always happen, but this is what can happen if you stick with your principles, your values. And I just thought it was great. I thought great leadership from the top, and for us to do it over that season, it just shows you it's a long, hard season. It's a long ass season. It's bloody hard work, man. And we saw it all last year, and I just thought you could write. Good night, Don. You can you could write a book on it, and it was will never be forgotten. That never be forgotten. And I know everyone thinks in short spells. They always just think of the 9 games, but we got 47 other points in that season, which was just got us there. Do you know what I mean? We lost a lot of games, and it was a complete opposite to the season before. But we achieved one better. So yeah, just good scenarios, good pictures, and it was definitely a learning curve, mate.
Yeah, I was going to say, and arguably at any other club, we wouldn't be talking. I don't think you
exactly
would have seen out the season.
Yeah, exactly. Look, we ain't stupid. We know what happens, and we've been around the game long enough. We're wise enough. It was just, it was good. And we look back at it now and we laugh and we go, fuck, we were that close, and it was just low, and it was deflating, and no one wants to do as well at this football club than me. Do you know what I mean? So that was hard, really, because we all listen to the noise, but not pleasant at times. But then you enjoy it with the nights of promotion, which again, landmark moments, mate, which I'll never forget.
I saw game 1 of the last 6, which was away at Farsley. I think I said to you afterwards, it was probably the worst game of football that I've seen, but probably as big a win as.
I love them games, Nick. I love them games.
It was horrible. But that I thought was the prime example of us being resolute, getting the win, and getting the wins in that style, probably for the remaining 6 games, being as strong defensively as we were. I mean, it was horrible at times. I really didn't envy the back line. They must have had sore heads that evening as well, the amount of headers that they won during that game. That must have, or how much pride did that give you out of the remaining 6 games? Was that probably one of the most satisfying victories?
Possibly. I think it was just, obviously it was the start. We were closer to the bottom than the top when we beat Farsley. Yeah. So I think it was just more pure relief, to be honest, that we could go there, be stubborn. We scored off a set piece. Dibbs made a great save last minute, if I remember, tipped it onto the post. But the games coming up weren't games to be feared, bar Fylde away. And I thought, right, we can beat Buxton at home, we can beat Southport away, but one game at a time. When I started to believe it was when we beat Fylde. and I knew we could win if we took one game at a time, I knew we could win them all. And it was great, and you could just see us growing, couldn't you?
Yeah.
The Fylde performance away was chalk and cheese to what we witnessed 3 or 4 months before. And it just showed, what a bit of confidence, a bit of get together, a couple of new bodies, everyone pulling in the right direction can do. And we were just a different animal. You will never get a better 3-game performance in a playoff than what we produced in that 2 weeks.
Did you get an inkling as well, Jimmy, during those 6? How early into those 6 did you feel that it was on?
Honestly, I thought we were performing better before the game started, like I said earlier, Nick. I think we reached a point where I truly believed. I think the team from the year before, who had the cup run, will always go down as a special team to Kiddy fans for what they achieved, and rightly so. But if them 2 teams would have met at that point of the season, the team who finished last year would definitely have won the game. I was saying that at the time. I believe we were a much stronger outfit as a group. Forget individuals, there's some unbelievable talent in both of them sides. But with the momentum and the way we were playing, and players were really playing into form, it felt, I wouldn't say unbeatable, I'm not stupid, it's football, but we were definitely as strong as anything in that division. I think Russ just said there about the Fylde performance. I think probably played Fylde probably double figures in my time as a player and as a coach. I think that was the first time we went there. We outclassed them. We were the better football team. We deserved to win our game thoroughly. And you looked at it and you thought, right, we're strong all over the pitch. Yeah, people are peaking right at the right times. The new signings, lads coming into the team, people like Zach Brown really growing and looking like a player. I think it all just clicked. It was really strong. So I'd probably say I started to believe something magical could happen. But to be fair, we went into the last game, and even in that last game, I think if we would have won the game 2-0 and not got into the playoffs, we would have been absolutely devastated, because I think we really started to sniff that something was happening. So that was the most exciting time for me when I found out that we was actually in the playoffs, because I thought, right, now we've got a right chance. And I think it all fell into place.
Yeah, and the league was so ridiculously tight, wasn't it, Russ? I mean, you look at what happened to Chorley on the final day. I think they were 4th, weren't they, going into injury time, and then they lose at Gloucester and finished 13th, 14th in the end. Yeah,
I think the 4 teams above us will be absolutely kicking themselves for years to come, really, that they didn't finish it off. We had no right to sneak in. We were miles away. And as soon as we picked in, we were the favourites to win the whole thing. You just knew. I had a real sense of belief when we picked in that we'd win it, because you feel it sometimes, and we definitely felt it at the time. Strange season. But that last month also goes down in my history of football as one of the best months of my career. Just never been that confident going into games. It's just a feel, and it changes so quickly in football. Honestly, you can go from losing 5 games on the bounce to winning 5 games on the bounce. It's just a moment sometimes, a trigger. But that was it was phenomenal, mate. And I love everything about it. I love talking about it. It was a great moment in our careers.
And Jimmy, having the 3 playoff games away from home, given what our away record was like at that time, wasn't it? I think we were 2nd, possibly, or top of the away form table, really near the bottom from a home perspective. Do you think psychologically that was a trigger maybe in the players' heads as well? We've got potentially 3 games away from home. We know what we are like away from home. This is ours potentially to throw away.
Yeah, the statistics said it. To be honest, no. I think we'd reached a point where we was home or away. I think we won our last 2 home league games, didn't we? And to be honest, the away games were like home games. The following was unbelievable. I think Alfreton was like a wow moment, coming out the tunnel there, looking behind the goal and seeing it, like the flares, the lot going. It was unreal. And I think the one that sticks out to everyone really is Kings Lynn as well. To get a following like that on a Sunday, was it a Sunday morning all the way up to Kings Lynn?
Wasn't it? Yeah,
absolutely, honestly, absolutely ridiculous. And I think the people who managed to get themselves there that day will never forget it. That was one of them special ones. It was the performance, the atmosphere, the whole thing. Really, it was just a bit magical.
And a sign, Russ, I think, as well of the way the players were mentally was, obviously we got the penalty. Ash had it saved, but he was brilliant after that anyway. But the rest of the team were as well. That sort of setback, it didn't feel like it was going to knock us.
No, listen. Ash has had some adversity at the club since he's been here. Very few moments, and it's affected him. So I was delighted. There was no one more worried than me when he missed the penalty, because I know we could either lose him now. But he was magnificent.
Yeah.
He was the best player in the league for the last 6 weeks. But we were so focused at the time. Everything we did, it just had that little more added incentive that we could do something remarkable, and we did. So full credit to all the players, the staff, everyone, the club, for getting us over the line. I think the away games helped us. Yeah. Listen, me and Jim love playing at home. We've been fortunate enough to have some really big crowds since we've been at our time, and we love it. And I know the players love it. But for a focus point of view, playing the final at Brackley that one day, I think suited us big time. It become a bit of a show for them, and a bit of a, here we go again. We've been here 6 times in the last 8 years. We're going to do it this time. Where for us, it was just like, right, it's another game. Let's tick it off. We've got a bad record here. Let's put it to bed, and we were magnificent that day. And there was only one team winning it.
Talk us through the full-time whistle then, because I was watching it at home, and both of you seemed very, very calm. You were 2-0 up heading into injury time. I think there might have been a couple of celebrations amongst our subs potentially, but you and both of you were well, just calm personified, I thought.
Fucking knackered, Nick. We're knackered, mate, ready for bed. Jimmy.
Yeah, I think it was. Look, it weren't calm, but there was a little relief moment. I'll be honest. We've had two moments at the club on this side. I think we had one. We spoke about it actually. It was about 10 minutes to go, West Ham, where we were 1-0 up, and the crowd was absolutely bouncing, and the club was. You could feel it, the blood pumping through the club, and it was like, wow. And I actually said to Russ at the time on the touchline, I said, whatever happens, mate, I said, just take this in for a second, like, because it was unbelievable. And the other one, we probably had about 5 seconds before the whistle went at Brackley, where we knew we'd done it. And after everything we'd been through in that season, all them dark moments and everything, I think we had a little handshake or something. Nothing disrespectful, obviously, to Brackley, but it was just like, fair play, mate. Like, and absolute delight for everyone associated with the club. Just you hear the stories of how dark it goes and where they've been, and it's tough. Like, look, a football club is the heart of a town, isn't it? It's everything, and because it had been such a tough period of time for the club, just to get that first promotion and that first step back to where we want to get, I thought it was a really nice moment for us to just take it in, have a breather. I think at least we've done it. We've done that first step.
And for you, Russ, I think, am I right that it was your first promotion both as a player and a manager?
Yeah, crazy. Never won anything as a player, which the biggest thing I say was winning as a footballer was just staying in the game. You know what I mean? That's winning for me, with the amount of ins and outs in the game now. But delighted, absolutely delighted I was. But yeah, I was tired. I was tired comes the end. I think only me and Jim really know what we go through at the football club. Day in, day out, you want to succeed, but how much you have to work to get that, to get the positives out of the game, really, mate. And I think, yeah, we went through every emotion that season, every emotion possible. Travelled up and down the country. How many games did we play at the end? 57, 58, I don't know. And it's just, 10 months of your life. So, yeah, the night was a good one. In fact, I remember going back and having the celebrations. I was the first to leave. I was just that tired. I think Jim left about half an hour later. We just left everyone to it, didn't we? And we just said, you know what?
Yeah.
Time to go. Time to go now. I had enough, and I just went home. And I didn't speak to Jim for about 2 days.
Well, maybe that's a
lie. That's definitely a lie. He definitely rang me the next morning, Nick, I'm telling you.
He just doesn't remember it, that's why.
I had enough.
Talk us through then between full time, the trophy lift then, and then what happened between that trophy lift and then getting back to Agborough, because it felt like quite a while between the full time whistle going and then you eventually rocking up at the Harriers Arms.
Right, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened now. Yeah, this can't go out to the public, by the way. No, we were listen. The board they brought us a load of beers. We were in the showers. Everyone was spraying. It was just electric. And then that took forever because all players were talking to families. Everyone's doing the radio interviews, soaking it up like you should do. on the bus, that was a long journey home because we had 2 stop-offs to get more alcohol. So, and then you had a couple of lads that drove at certain places that wanted to go back to the ground, so they couldn't do bits and bobs. So I think we got back about 9:30, about 4 hours after the game finished, didn't we? But the 4 hours that built up for what we saw was second to none. It was like Galatasaray when we were going up that road. There was flares, there was people on the roof chanting, and you could hear it with the lads. I was just going, wow, look at this. And that's a selling point for us, really. Do you know what I mean? Not many clubs can do that at this level.
Were you aware, Jimmy, of what was going on at Agborough on your way back, or not at all?
No, I was pissed already, I think, Nick. No, you started to see it. You got a few whispers. So yeah, all the players were by the windows waiting for it and stuff. I think we were just encouraging them really to say, look, soak it in. It's very easy when you're a footballer not to take it in the moment. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's really important when you do get success, you've got to enjoy it as well. That was special for us. Look, we're sitting at the front of the bus. We'd be desperate to be like their mates at times. Don't be wrong, they're a great bunch of lads, but we have to keep that line. But you can hear them, and it's a special group, and they'll always remember each other now, whether they're mates or not. I'm sure they get invited back to the club in 10, 15, 20 years with their families for a game and stuff like that. And you create something very special, and it never goes. I was lucky as a player to have one, and the same thing happens now. You get invited to go back and have a reunion and so forth, and it's really special. And you try and tell players about that when they're still playing, because it goes so quick. You're very fortunate and very lucky to have moments like that. And I'd like to think that they all took it in and they got something from it that they'll always cherish. What
means more than if you've had a promotion as a player and as a promotion as a manager? Then they're obviously very different experiences. Does one mean more than the other?
They're different. I was very lucky to have one early, and it was as big as it could have been, a local derby at Wembley, and it's perfect day. Obviously, it's amazing. It's very different because the amount of work that goes in on this side of things, all the behind the scenes stuff. It probably means more to your family as well, because they see what you go through and they stick by you and stuff like that. Probably more rewarding, I'll be honest. The fact I'm even comparing the two it probably says how special it is, because I didn't think that could be topped. My one with Doncaster, but yeah, it's right up there. The feeling was so rewarding. But what it does, like it does when you're a player, it makes you want more straight away. And I think the fact that we're young, we're hungry, and we're ambitious, I love that. I hope that doesn't go.
Did you get any apologies, Russ?
I don't need apologies.
No,
we got some.
Not that you need them.
We got some, but you know what? It doesn't matter. I don't work for that reason. Fans are fans. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Wolves, and I say things, and then I have to kind of bring it back to that kind of, is that how I would do it to me and whatever. It's football, mate. We've got thick skin. If you haven't, you're in the wrong game. Do you know what I mean? I do it for everyone else. I do it for the fans. I do it for the players. I do it for the club. I do it for my family. I do it because I want to do it. It's my job, and it's something that I love. The lows are low and the highs are very, very high. That's why we do it. It's like a drug. Apologies, yeah, because some people go personal and it's on your social and your family see it, but they're not my friends, Nick. Do you know what I mean? They're just fans. They're not my friends. My friends don't say things like that. So, listen, it was great. We enjoyed it because we know how quickly it can change. Do you know what I mean? And 3 or 4 months later, everyone's forgot about promotion. We're in a new league and it's all about results again. So it just goes like that. It's a flash. And, that week, we probably only enjoyed it for a week, really. You kind of live off it then for pre-season, and the whole club's on a high, which is great. But you personally, you probably only enjoy it for that week. But it was a great week, mate. Great week.
Yeah. And did you sort of really understand how much it meant? Because that was the first promotion in 23 years for the club. You know, the only previous promotion we'd had was under Jan Molby into the Football League. 3 maybe good seasons in Division 3 as it was then. Relegation, a couple of decent years under Steve Burr, and then complete nosedive. So Did you get a flavour of just what it meant to those diehard fans who'd been through it all over those 3 decades?
100%, and I think that's why they get frustrated. You know, there's a lot of entitlement in football, and the big clubs that are in the levels, like your Scunthorpes now and your Fyle, your Kings Lynn's and all that, they believe they shouldn't be there. Chester's, your Herefords, all ex-league clubs, they believe they shouldn't be there, and we were one of those. But that doesn't mean that the hard work stops. You've got to keep going, mate. And we've been on an awful journey the last 10 years prior to when me and Jim and Richard come in. And that's why it was a great time to take over the football club. Couldn't get any lower. But the foundations were built and the building blocks were put in place. And slowly, if you come together with good people, still got to be good at your trade, by the way, and keep working. Rewards come. And I think there's more. There's so much more to come as well from us in the next 5 years that I think it's just really exciting at the moment.
And Jim, when I spoke to you at Farsley, you sort of mentioned about how Colin Gordon had sold you the club and its potential. Does the club feel alive now? I know we had West Ham the previous season, but does it feel properly like the blood's pumping throughout it now?
Definitely. Look, I've been asked a question: what was the best thing to come from the FA Cup run? Straight away, I said it's actually showed everybody associated with a football club what it can be. I think it's really easy to have this dream and this idea. Oh, this is what it's going to be like, and we're going to be selling this many tickets, and a match day is going to look like this, and we're going to have this and that. We actually had a couple of days where it was that. And I think actually having the people who work at the club, the supporters, the players, the staff, everyone associated to actually witness, my God, this can happen. We want that to happen every week somewhere down the line. Do you know what I mean? That's what happens if you get to the league and then you move up the ladder. Yeah, it's a dream. Of course, it's a dream. And yeah, it's a long way away. But I think it's important to have that dream and to actually feel it and see what it can be like. I think that's the best thing that comes from it. I really do. Don't get me wrong, you've got to maintain it. And it's not just going to happen. But I think it's a lot easier and it's a lot more achievable in the fact that we know it can happen and we know what it feels like, so we know what we're striving for.
That's the hardest thing. What comes with success is expectation. And, you know, when you get a taste of it, you want it to go on forever, don't you? And then when you haven't got it, you know, it becomes a bit of a lull and a failure. And that's why I believe last year, if we wouldn't have gone up, I think that would have been a really challenging time for the football club because I think we were ready, weren't we? We were really ready. Over the 3 years, we've gone like that. And, to then play National North again, no disrespect, would have been a real pull. And that would have been a tough off-season to get going again and get the crowd going because it took 3 years to build what we've got now, and now we're going again. Do you know what I mean?
And what are our expectations then? You mentioned about sort of the next 5 years. I know when you've been asked before, you sort of won't go public in terms of what potentials are for this season. What are you thinking? This 5-year plan? Then you don't have to say, obviously.
I just think on the pitch we've got to be competitive and we've got to be part of this National League. Do you know what I mean? We're going up against some big boys, but it doesn't fear us and. But we've always got to be better. We're striving to be better, and if there's a better player out there, we'll try and get him in, and that's what we've got to do. That's how the business works. That's what we've done the last 3 years. The grand plan is, of course, achieving success again. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't have to say it. You know, chairman wants promotion over the next 5 years, but that takes time. It takes building blocks, and we're putting those into place at the moment. So, but that's every chairman, Nick. That's every chairman. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in the game. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They all want that. But first and foremost, we've got to be sustainable, which I think we certainly are. Hospitality is great. Season tickets are great. Sponsorship's great. Training ground's great. The community's great. It's the best position the club's ever been in my eyes. And I've been around a long time. You know, you went on par with what we were doing in League Two from a different side off the field in the new era of the game. So definitely proud of that because I think it mirrors what we've been doing on the field. But now we have to go again. We have to kick on and strive to be better. If we can be challenging over the next 3 years for playoffs or whatever, great. Who knows?
And Jimmy, Russ mentions the training ground there. I think a lot of fans obviously don't get to go down there. From your point of view and the career that both of you have had, just describe what is available to you and Russ from that training ground perspective, and how good it is for this division.
It's top class. It's the potential there is huge as well. It's coming on year by year, getting better. Obviously, a lot of people know we've got a full-time education, football education that runs alongside us, so we have access to players from that, which is fantastic as well. It's 15 pitches, Russ, is that right, on the site?
Yeah.
Is that right? Something like 15 pitches.
Yeah.
Look, it's getting better all the time. A lot of hard work, a lot of planning. The potential's through the roof. Don't be wrong, it's fantastic. It is a big pull when we recruit. Where do I rank it? Look, it's potentially League One standard, probably up there already. When I look back at the clubs I've played for, it's up there against anything really. We can't argue with that side of thing at all. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. It gives us a great base to train every day, to work from. We always look to make improvements there as well. It's not always about money; it's about things that we can do ourselves as well. But it gives us a chance. It gives us a chance because obviously, like Russ said, we're up against some big boys in the division. But it's one of our pluses, definitely. Yeah.
We're not too far away from the end of it. I'm gonna give you an opportunity to say a few words about each other, if you like. Russ, do you want to say a few? What is it like working with Jimmy? What is the magic, if you like, that makes it all work?
Oh, it put me on the spot now, mate. I think we're very similar in our ways. Family men, which is a big thing for me. Honest, hardworking. If you're not hardworking, we'll just be miles apart. I think we'd piss each other off. Probably work too hard at times, but then we tell each other we're working too hard. I think we're quite similar. We work off the same brain. The last 3 years, we're moulded into each other. I'm actually starting to look like him now, which is weird.
Stop dressing like each other. That's a start.
Do you know what? I think it was a good. Well, I know that's weird as well, Jim. It was a good thing that we didn't know each other before we were at Kidderminster, and I think that's kept it fresh. We're good mates, but we're not best mates. So yeah, I think that's the key, really. I'm not going to big him up too much because he does me head in. But no, he's spot on. True, good professional. He's a good professional, which I believe I am as well. And I think we good people attract, don't they? Sometimes, and I think it's just it's been made, it's been put into place, really. So it's good. And when they talk about me, they talk about us, which I like.
Jimmy, your game?
Yeah, I think it's a big plus that we didn't know each other before. I really do. But the circumstances we met in were some of the toughest times at the club. The turmoil that was happening behind the scenes and things we had to do, and I think we earned each other's respect in that time because I think we were two people who just got on with it, whatever roles we were doing, a little bit on the pitch and a little bit off. And I think we took a few hits and we did things that we didn't have to do for the good of the club. And I think, like I say, I think we earned each other's respect first and foremost. Very honest, surprisingly honest with each other. And I think when other people are present, sometimes they're a bit taken aback how fiery we get. We don't just agree on everything. Don't think that would be healthy one bit. But we can say it. I think we trust each other. I think we're both ambitious and we want to do well. I think the family thing is a big one. I think the main word is respect. Look, Russ is top man. I said earlier about the way we kind of met each other and things that fell into place, i.e. the knowledge of the level and things like that, and different backgrounds kind of work well together. Did our coaching badges together, little things, and it all comes back to that. And I think we set standards day to day, the players with the staff. I think we know we're good at doing that. And I think that's it really. Like I said, I don't want to say too much. We obviously work well together. Look, we obviously work well together. Bit of respect, bit of fire, bit of anger. We think about things and we try and be better. That's the most important thing that we value.
Hey, we're good singers as well. We're good singers, Nick. We have a right good blast at the end of every day, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I can find a backing track. What's the number?
No. We need 4 points before we hit the karaoke machine in the arms, mate.
Maybe we'll fix that for the end of the season then. We'll do that. How about that?
Yeah, for sure.
Just a last one then, Russ, for you, and just a message for the fans, what you can do for them, what they can do for you going forward this season, and hopefully how it can all sort of marry together this campaign.
What can we do for them? Well, we need to score goals, don't we? We all know that. But that's the easy bit. Well, I say it is. I'll pay players to do that. Listen, we've got to enjoy the journey together. We've got to push each other. I think the fans definitely strive for success and push for success. And if it's not going out, they'll show their emotions. But that's good. They believe in us, mate, because the numbers are there, and the crowds are there, and the frustration's there because they believe in us. If it's not, it becomes a cemetery, and it becomes quiet, and it becomes a lull like it was 4 years ago. But we're on a journey now, a great journey, where for the first time we've probably since the Steve Burr era, but he kind of left around this mark, didn't he? Now the 3.5, 4 years, where you can connect with someone, and I believe we're making great connections with the town, and it's got to be a couple of years in the making at least. You know what I mean? And I know football, it's short-lived and whatever, but we're really enjoying what we're doing here, and the chairman's really enjoying it at the moment. The fans are enjoying it, and I just think as a community club and a family club, it's a great place to be watching football and to be part of your club. Fans will certainly got to be proud of what we are at the moment. We're on the map again, aren't we? And we get talked about, and if we can have an half-decent season this year and build again, then fantastic.
I think that is the perfect way to finish. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Nick.
Cheers, Nick. Top man, mate. Top man.